Oh no! Hey everyone, yeah, we're live here, and I think Matt is frozen. So, welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast. I'm your host Andy, and perhaps my earlier tweet was prophetic that I am the only person on the show. I guess. You know what? Let me try and get Matt back on here. I really didn't want to do some editing tonight, but it looks like I might have to. And in fact, I might have to launch a second show. Oh no! Luckily, there's only one person, two people watching. Maybe one of those people is Matt. Hello, Matt. Are you out there? Are you ready to talk about a great episode of Survivor? Nope. All right. So I'm shutting this live stream down, and I'm going to have to do a bunch of stuff to get another one. So,
Oh wait, I'm back.
oh, there he is! Yay!
Oh man. Jeez. Yeah, my computer totally froze the second you hit the live button. That's really
Yes.
bad.
And it's inspiring me with a lot of confidence that this is going to be smooth sailing from here on out.
This is gonna be the best episode. Did you? What I missed? Did you introduce us? What the hell happened?
I said that this was this Purple Rock Survivor podcast with Andy and his co-host Andy.
Yeah, right. And here, we're supposed to be talking about what's actually a really good episode. Or I guess I should ask you whether you thought it was a good episode. So what'd you think, Andy? Yeah, it was a good episode. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
That's kind of where I'm at.
I just figure you're just talking to yourself here, so I don't know. Wow, what a beginning we had there.
Yes, maybe not as good an episode for us as it was for Survivor. Because yes, when and added to that amazingness that you're going to get is both of us are sick. So you're going to get a lot of that, and because
that was mostly a laugh, and then me choking on the laugh. This is God damn it.
I really should have tried to do the podcast by myself. Where's Mark? Where's Mark? Is Mark available?
Robot Andy to bounce off regular Andy would have been so much better than what you're getting from Matt tonight. Yes. So let's rally. Okay, let's talk about what's actually what
this
I
is
thought
like
was
a live finale, and Sia has just come out, and everything is just going to pot after that.
Right. Only somehow worse.
Yes,
I'm going to go
less lucrative. I'll say at least that as well.
Yeah, well, that's true. Anyway, this episode had a lot happen, so let's break down everything in order. So we start near the beginning, though it's actually not near the beginning. It's probably midway through. But Mike White decides that he doesn't want anything to do with the strike force. He wants to target Christian, right? Yeah. Let's talk about that decision. What do you think of that?
All right, so first I think I want to talk about what I believe motivated Mike to make this decision. And I think a lot of the blame can fall squarely at the feet of Gabby. I think her performance at Tribal Council last week probably filled Mike with a lot of, I think, reasonable doubt at her level and perhaps all of the Davids' level of commitment to this alliance. Because it's not, she wasn't just doing the thing that you do at Tribal Council, the performance. We don't want anybody to know we're an alliance, so we will talk as though we were doomed. She was, frustrated, crying over the situation, which, I can understand where you'd sit there and be like, I don't think Gabby's really into this. And, when you hear what he's saying, and obviously he voiced that concern to Christian himself, but more than that, you also had him when he was talking to us about why he wants to flip this, is that he's worried that the Davids are pulling a fast one. That, they will, surrender the power that they came in with because, of this alliance that they thought they formed. Meanwhile, you got Gabby here talking like she's a tried and true David to the point of tears. So I got to say, like, if I'm there, I would start to feel pretty concerned. Now, I think some people have said, that's just Gabby. You need to know how to manage her. What you need to do is reassure her and everything's fine. Well, for one, Mike doesn't know that. He's known her for 3 days. And two, that's also a bad quality in a potential, secret alliance partner. You can't be the secret alliance that catches everybody in surprise if you constantly have to reassure somebody that, oh yeah, when I was over there talking to the Goliaths about who we were going to boot, that was part of the plan. And that I fell through with that because we voted out the person we said we were going to vote. And, being a person whose name I already forgot, first member of the jury, Cowboy.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, so it's like there's no reason for you to have all this level of doubt. And if you're always going to have this little bit of doubt, then maybe this 6-person alliance isn't for me. So I think that might have been where Mike was coming from.
Sure.
The problem is I don't know why Goliath Strong is a good one for him either. Yeah. I don't think that, like, if I was to look at all the Goliaths, he is the person that least benefits from such an arrangement. So it's like, I understand if he doesn't think the Strike Force arrangement is going to be good, because Gabby is, on the very first time it was implemented, proved to be, fairly unreliable, or at least, potentially difficult.
Seemingly so. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I think the move is to, first off, if you're worried about the Davids pulling a fast one, stick to the original plan. Say we got to get rid of one more David, in which case they won't have much fast ones left to pull. And the second one is start finding some other configuration that might work out for you. And I don't know if this was it.
Right. So that's what I was going to say. I was going to, I mean, I agree with your original point that Gabby's performance is kind of what drew him into the point where he started to think about, he started to question the Strike Force. But if you think about the other thing that didn't get talked about, was the original plan was 2 Davids, right? And it was 2 Davids because the Goliaths had the power, so that if they were going to cede the power and make an alliance that was 3 and 3, they wanted to have some buffer there. And they wanted to have some buffer there so that the Davids couldn't suddenly take control when they start voting out the biggest threats in the game, like Dan and John, who are going to be, presumably big immunity threats. Though again, like how real that is, I'm not sure.
But, I mean, Dan did just win one.
Well, that's true. So I mean, right. So let's not discount the fact that they probably would be. They in certain challenges they very well could be. And there are probably challenges that would favor Alec, so that's why he would target them. And Alec definitely seems to be the brains there. But then that plan changed too, because now everyone's talking about voting out Angelina, which then makes the difference. The 6 to 5, they vote out Angelina, and the first target if they go after a real Goliath is going to be Dan, because that's who everyone wants to vote out, presumably. Or if it's not Dan, it's someone closely aligned to Dan, like John. So then you're suddenly 5 to 5. Now it doesn't take much for the Davids just to go David Strong and start voting out the Goliaths. So I think the combination of Gabby's performance and the change of plan was sending up those, alarm bells in Mike White's head. And that's why he decided to target Christian. Now, I'm not sure why he decided it had to be Christian. That's the part of this that I don't think makes a lot of sense. And I don't think we have a great explanation for that, other than the fact that Mike doesn't have a relationship with Christian. His relationship is with Nick. And maybe that's the answer. Because we've seen Nick form bonds with a lot of people. And we're going to talk about Nick later. But it seems that 2 of the best bonds he's formed are 1 with Mike White and then 2 with Christian. And maybe there's a little jealousy there. Maybe Mike recognizes that Christian is tighter with Nick than he is. And maybe he realizes that getting out Christian locks in Nick with him and gets him, as you said, if he's looking for that new configuration that's not just Goliath Strong, it's probably based around Nick.
Yeah. Certainly it could be based on Nick as well, but I think there's also just a lot of jealousy with Mike White and Christian. Like, Christian is the Mike White the type that archetype that Mike White probably thought he was going to fill, only so much better at every aspect of it, right? So you could see why Mike White finds Christian especially threatening, because it's like, if I am ever going to be good at anything in this game, it needs to be it can't be when he's around, because that is, he's funnier than I am, or people have taken more charming to him, more sympathy, because of his shortcomings, but look how he's doing, possibly puzzling. I don't know if that's actually a skill Mike White has, or just something that viewers like to assign to people without muscles. Oh, well, if you're a dork, you must be good at spatial recognition, because that's how it works, I suppose. It happens every season where people that are nerds are just like gifted the power of puzzling by fans without any evidence. So I do think, he felt Christian was, and then Christian was threatening to his spot also from like a storytelling perspective. I'm not, I can't be the big narrator. Like, look at what's going on with him. So I do think that that's probably a lot of what was feeding into him. Plus, there was somebody who just said last week all of the reasons why Christian should be a threat, and maybe it only means something to Mike when it comes from him. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. But there's actually one other thing I wanted to address, which is why would Mike stay Goliath strong? How does that serve his game? I think you got to also realize that Mike probably recognizes that he's not going to win no matter what configuration happens, because he's famous, he's Hollywood, whatever. He kind of recognizes that, there's no way he gets to the end and he gets the votes. So staying Goliath strong might be a great way for Mike White to get to the final three and be a jury and be a finalist, which might be the most he can hope for.
That's entirely possible. Obviously, that's complete extrapolation. We haven't seen that.
No, it is.
It's a good one.
We haven't seen that,
but yeah, so it's like I understand him being nervous about what happened. I think, I don't think enough people have pointed enough blame in Gabby's direction. I said last week that there was going to be fallout from it, and I didn't even anticipate that this would be it, that people would have been like, okay, well, I guess she's not on our side. Like, again, because if she's just saying, well, of course she's fighting for her side and all that, it's like, yeah, you're just playing the role. We're all pretending to not be a team. But she was crying. That tells me that she was really feeling it. But targeting Christian because he's a threat is too soon. It's not too soon if you're not pretend or somewhat aligned with him, like, for an Angelina or for a Dan. It is too soon for Mike White. Why throw away two different potential avenues when you don't have to? And it's the same thing with Angelina last week. It's like, well, these other people aren't worthy targets. This guy is. It's like, they're still worthy targets. He quickly and casually just dismissed Carl and Davie as what could they do, which, very ironic given what happened. But also, it's like they're players in the game. Anybody can do something, as evidenced by this very episode. And those two people were actually empowered to do things that he couldn't have known about. But what you need to do is treat every player in the game with some level of appropriate fear and respect that they are humans with agency. But moreover, they are potential votes. If you're worried about the Davids pulling a fast one, it's really hard to do once they're down to 4 people. Again, especially 3 of whom you're supposedly aligned with, one of whom, and Nick, you should feel some level of alignment. So it's like, just take out Carl or Davie. That's all you need to do with this situation. Make sure everybody's aware of the threat level of Christian, because you're not wrong. He could beat anybody. I feel like if he makes it to the end, he will beat anyone. It's just a question of whether he will make it to the end. But you got 6. Let him be the 6th person. Better yet, make sure there's a Goliath at number 7th and make him 7th. Hell, make him 8th. But you don't need to do it now. You really don't need to be big game hunting. And so I understand why Mike wanted to flip. His decision to do so was bad idea for him.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one thing this episode kind of shows is that, as always in Survivor, information is really important. Maintaining bonds is really important. Mike seems to be throwing away the bonds that he has with people, and he could be using those bonds to get more information about other people's plans. If he keeps, the people who he's supposedly aligned with in the game, he's getting information from not just Goliath, but from them as well. He's getting information from almost anyone. Cut out the people you have the least relationship with, which is probably Carl and Davie.
Yeah.
And let's talk about information again, because a big part of this episode and of last episode was of someone spilling the beans to someone on the minority right before the vote. And this time it was Alec talking to Nick. Last week it was Angelina talking to Elizabeth. So I want to ask you this. Was what Alec said to Nick different than what Angelina said to Elizabeth? And if so, how?
Yeah, absolutely, it's different. Everybody's drawing that comparison and then making it like of course she doesn't get away with it, which again, we're going to get to that. But for one, nobody knows that Alec did it, so of course there's no fallout. There can't be a fallout from a plan that doesn't get betrayed. Secondly, I don't think Alec was doing it for a jury vote, because that's not analogous. If he's doing it for a jury vote, it's to the person you're sending to the jury, which is Christian, not Nick. So it's not a comparison there. I think what he was doing was, first off, maybe trying to maintain, preserve the relationship or potential relationship with Nick if this indeed goes down the way it is, because he's not ready to stick his neck out to save somebody. But I think that also underlying is like, hey, this is what's going to happen. See if you can stop it, because that works for Alec.
That's definitely a thing. For me, Alec is definitely looking for Nick to stop this plan. and that's why he's telling him. Whereas, and that's not what was happening last week. Angelina was, as she said herself in this episode, she was trying to get Elizabeth's vote on the jury. But Alec wasn't. Alec was talking to Nick because he's like, yo, this is what's happening. I can't stop it. Maybe you can.
Yeah.
And he did, because Alec knew that wasn't blowing back on him if they stopped it. And Alec
all
knew
it's going to do is take out somebody that Alec doesn't want in the game. Angelina, Dan, John, whatever. He doesn't want any of those in the game. So if Nick can stop it, great. If not, no harm, no foul. I haven't, shown my cards yet.
Right. And he maintains that bond with Nick. Yeah. So.
And frankly, losing Christian isn't the worst thing because of all the reasons people stated.
Especially because it seems that Nick also has a pretty good relationship with Davie, and they could probably just replace him with Davie in this alliance.
And Alec should feel like he has a relationship with Davie because there was, right? They have worked together. So, yeah. Now, obviously, the difficulty is losing Christian. You also lose Gabby. But, again, that might not be the worst.
Well, then maybe you replace, Christian and Gabby with Davie and Carl.
Yep. So, yeah, that's what I think Alec was doing. And, yeah, it shouldn't be treated the same way because, for one, it's not the same. It's not just sucking up to a juror. And secondly, yeah, it's like it worked, man. It didn't blow back on him at all. Nobody, nobody's out there. Even Nick himself, when he's discussing it with Christian, with Davie, he never says, Alec told me this. He keeps that information to himself to preserve his future relationship with Alec and different, potential avenues for him to proceed. So no, it's not the same thing as Angelina, not at all. And frankly, why a lot of this is blowing back on Angelina might be some of the reasons that people are going to have identified and all that, but also because she's Angelina. How everything blows back on her because she's so transparent. Everybody knows what she's doing. She does not have Alec's level of game. And maybe it's because Alec tried it with somebody who he's established a relationship with, and Angelina tried it with somebody who she just met.
Right. I mean, it's amazing how transparent Angelina is, to the point where when we tried to give her the doubt, it's immediately proved wrong. And she was doing the thing that everyone accused her of in the first place. I love how after last week, everyone was like, well, was she really trying to curry the jury vote? And it was, a little unclear last week from what we saw, because, that's what she was accused of. And then by Allison. And then this episode opens with Angelina saying yeah, I was doing that. I got caught. Whoops. And it's and then she tries to spin that lie, and everyone's looking at her, and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? This is the most obvious lie I've ever seen. I love especially John's face in the background as she's talking.
Yeah, because he likes her. He actually wants to work with her. He's probably her biggest fan out there. And even he's like, oh, Angelina, you're so full of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's the difference. They're both lying to people, except that Alec is he's just not as transparent. He's better at lying to, and maybe that's because he's in the service industry and he has to lie to customers all the time as a waiter.
Yeah, and I'm also not going to discount the fact that he might get away with things that she doesn't due to all of the reasons that happen in society. That said, I do think people are overselling the fact that he got away with the Natalia thing. It's come up in it came up in John's post-game interviews. I think it's just not in the edit as much, but it did come up in the edit right away. They were like, oh yeah, I don't know about that guy. So I don't know if he actually got away with the Natalia vote as much as people are thinking he is. I think it's more yeah, we'll deal with Alec down the line, because
it might also be the Natalia vote's the reason why he even has the strike force plan. It might be that if he wasn't getting blowback because of the Natalia vote, he might be Goliath strong, but because he's getting blowback, that's why he might be trying to do this double secret probation plan, because he realizes, crap, I have to make contingencies. I can't get through this game Goliath strong because they're going to take me out once they feel safe.
Yeah. So, I think there are levels here. All right. So the next part of everything that went down is Davie playing the idol for Christian. And there's a big question of whether he should have. And I'll just quickly I'll let you tackle this one first. Do you think Davie made the right move with the idol?
Yes, absolutely. Now you go and do your rant.
Well, it's more just does anybody expect me to say anything different? My entire shtick, besides yelling and not listening to people, is that do not wait for the ideal situation to make a move. Do not be afraid of assuming risk now, because the inaction of doing something also carries risk, and that's a thing that barely anybody ever calculates. Davie did. Davie figured out that if I don't do this move now, yeah, sure, I'll have an idol to protect myself, but I'll have no moves left in the game to do it with when that happens. If it even happens, and that's the other thing people need to figure out. It's like, he should have kept it in play for himself. Well, good luck figuring out which in the next 3 weeks it's you, because it could be next week, or maybe it's Carl because they're afraid of what happened to Island, or maybe Gabby makes a big deal and it's her, or maybe now they decide, okay, well, we have an advantage, we take out Carl. Like, I don't know how Davie knows when it's time to play his idol for himself. Now he does, and that's one thing I've said before. I actually think it's easier to play an idol for somebody else than it is for you, because you are more likely to have the actionable intelligence of where the vote is going when it's not going towards yourself.
I mean, yeah, in some ways that is definitely true. It's easier in terms of like strategically, you're probably more accurate when you do it for someone else. But it's definitely harder emotionally to play for someone else because you're exposing yourself. But no, it's absolutely the right move. It's quite simply, if you have a chance to take control of the game, you have to do it. And frankly, like, even though this does not put David's up in numbers, what it does, it puts them down one, and they have the vote steal. And they know, and Davie knows he has that because, again, he has that too. So he knows that next tribal council, they can go in there along tribal lines, and they can flip the game again. And that one, they have no idea about. Now, the one thing by playing the idol, you probably suspect that you're putting the idol back in play, which means that, look, they can find it again. But this is an absolute move you have to do. Think about it. If you don't do it, then you're down 7-4. Then you're guessing between 1 and 4 with the idol. If you don't play it, then they're splitting the votes every time.
Playing the idol might not even matter. Like, it's not going to do the thing it needs to be.
You don't know that you're going to be the last of the 4 to make it. It could be Nick. It could be Gabby. Frankly, it probably would be Gabby. Who the heck is going to take it? They don't view Gabby as a threat. They view Gabby as someone who cries at tribal, which is, what they're seeing of her so far. So it's just like, you play it now when you have the good intelligence, when you have a chance to change the game.
Yeah, no, there's never going to be a better opportunity to play it than when he did now, because of the vote steal that he knows he has. And I like that they puzzled it out. It's like, well, we could use the vote steal now, force a tie. One of them's going to flip. Yeah, maybe. But even better is we'll play the idol where we know exactly where it's going, and they can't do any other shenanigans. They can't vote split or anything like that. And then we play it next week. And if they even need to, right? People might flip to their side. I would do next week anyway, because there's the other thing about it is the Goliaths are proving that they're actually not really interested in any other moves. It's going to be Goliath. So if you know that that's the case, the stakes now, that there's not a lot of room for you to maneuver upwards, and especially for Davie, we haven't seen any scenes of anybody making side plans with him. Maybe there are a couple here, but we haven't seen it as a story. This is your time, and if it fails, it fails. People need to recognize that you lose Survivor so much earlier than you're kicked out of Survivor more often than not. And this is his chance to, instead of playing on a short stack, to try and actually put a situation. Will it work? I don't know. Most things don't in Survivor, but this was a golden opportunity, and I applaud him for taking it, even if it had failed. Even if all the votes had gone to Angelina and there was no votes, and then the other tribe just votes Davie out. That was a very real possibility.
It was.
This exact tribal council. That's probably what would have happened if not for their next brilliant move. But you try to win. Play Survivor to win, not to not lose, because most people lose.
But here's the other thing. I think people have not been giving Davie credit this season, and I think that is even true on Island. Davie was lying low enough that when he was looking for that vote steal, no one thought he was doing anything. Davie was over there like doing karate, and everyone's like, haha, Davie's doing karate on a rock. Meanwhile, he's like covering for Nick finding the vote steal. That was fantastic. That was great. If there's a secret scene, and I'm sure Brad will include it, about Davie talking through this decision, and he lays out everything we just talked about. He was thinking this through. He is doing the numbers. He's doing the thinking. He knows why he's making this decision. People aren't giving him credit. He deserves credit.
Yeah. like even if it had completely failed and removed him, I would have said that was a fantastic play. You're never going to get a better chance to change your circumstance in the game. Yep. All right. So then we had another idol played.
Yeah, Dan plays the idol for Angelina. What do you think of that one? I think this one, it could be a bit more split decision in terms of what people think about it.
First off, I'll say I get why he does it. I understand it. It's a total in the heat of the moment. This thing just happens. Your plans are unraveling. You'd already geared yourself up that this is going to be our big move against us versus them. And Dan, as much as he doesn't like Angelina, is very much Goliath versus them. He has no other plans other than to ride out Goliath. He just wants to sacrifice one particular Goliath. So, you see this, it's starting to go sideways. And then, Angelina's sitting there asking you for it. And you were the one that said you would do it. And apparently it's not as easy as Ty made it look to just say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it when somebody's asking you like that. So, I get why you do it. I still don't think you do it because two reasons. One, you truly don't care if Angelina goes home. You want her to go home. Two, Dan himself is somebody who, if he has any chance of making it to the end of the game, it's going to be on the back of successful idol plays for himself and immunity wins. He needs 2 idols. He needs to go find another one. They are going to be targeting him as soon as now.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And the other thing is this. I mean, the one positive I see for Dan in this is that if he gets to the end, by playing this idol, he doesn't have that reputation as a backstabber. Because if Angelina went home because he didn't play his idol on her, which wouldn't have happened, by the way, which is kind of really fun. But had she gone home, everyone else that comes through Ponderosa is going to be hearing Angelina just absolutely tear into Dan. The first thing they're going to hear is, hey, it's great to see you. Dan fucking sucks, doesn't he? Yeah, he does. I mean, and so, one of the things that'd be going through my mind in that point would be, I promised her this. If I don't do it, I'm fucked at jury. And maybe that wouldn't make a big difference because it is Angelina and maybe people aren't giving her that much credit, but it might.
Yeah, because people, are more prone to, listen to bitter people when they are also similarly endowed. That can spread a lot at there. And I hadn't even thought of that because, she absolutely would. Now, obviously, there's also a chance that the flip side would happen. Anything Angelina keeps pushing for at Ponderosa would be like,
yeah, man,
go, Dan, go. Every time you survive another tribal council, it pisses her off, and we all celebrate.
It's also possible that when he doesn't play it for her, everyone else would just be like,
yeah. But no, it was a loyalty play. Those were his words. I am going to rep my side too. And that's where I get why you do it. I get in the heat of the moment and all of that. And especially that other, Angelina aside, it very much is his motivation to be Goliath strong. But Dan specifically needs those idols more than any other player out there.
And let's be clear. If he only had one idol, no chance he plays it on her.
No. That's the other thing. He feels like I've got one to burn here. So I don't think it was the right move. That said, I don't agree with the take that it was a stupid move, that he should have somehow anticipated that the next move that we're about to discuss would have happened. He's like, oh, he should have known it wasn't for Angelina and then randomly guessed it was for John. None of us guessed it was for John. None of us guessed that it would be anything but Angelina. This never happened before. The other side made a spectacular play. Yep. When you don't anticipate a spectacular play, that doesn't make your play stupid. It just means you got beat.
Yeah. And to be fair, I kind of thought there was a chance that Davie's playing his idol. No one else knows about Davie's idol. Davie might throw one vote to someone else. But I never thought they'd put 3 on someone else, and that's what made that really fun because now it becomes an actual vote split. And don't doubt it, this was a planned vote split. That same secret team from Davie makes it entirely clear that's what they were doing.
And I'd say it makes it mostly clear. He doesn't fully say the words like they were in on this vote split, but I'm pretty confident. And also just, I don't know how that happens without people knowing that he's playing an idol and it's a vote split. Like, I was puzzling when it happened. It's like Davie maybe told these people that and these people that, but I don't like how do Christian and Gabby don't circle back and stuff.
Well, I think it was actually Carl and Gabby, and the one thing is maybe you don't tell them because you know that they might not keep it secret.
Yeah, but I'm saying like how do you know that Christian will keep his change of vote from Gabby?
Yeah,
you figured they seem to discuss it. So yeah, I think it absolutely was a planned vote split, and man, that was amazing. That was
was great. That was great. I mean, and what's great about it is like everyone was like, oh my god, are we going to go to no votes? Nah, man, they planned for that. And there is a part of this that people aren't talking about that I really love, which is why they chose John. So everyone this entire season has been talking about how if people go after Dan, they won't go after Dan, they'll go after Dan's sidekick. And everyone was talking about Dan's sidekick as being, can you say it?
Kara!
Yeah, go Andy, you did it. I just wanted to make sure you still had it.
So I have it right here.
Everyone thought Kara. Everyone thought that's who people would go after if they wanted to get at Dan and couldn't. But no, they went after John. And the edit tricked us into thinking that the showmance was more important than the bromance here.
Yeah, but I don't think it. Yeah, I think to the point you seem to be making, but I'm not letting you. Yeah, I think that relationship was more central to Dan. Maybe not the one he thinks, but I think John is far more prone to be loyal to Dan than is Kara.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which I want to be clear, I don't think up until this moment had any plans on flipping on Dan, because why would you flip on somebody who seems more than willing to tell you everything in this game, do anything you ask, and maybe play an idol for you? That's not really a resource you should be looking to throw away. But if things start to go, sideways, I could see her, throwing him under the bus as simple. And, some of this also could be an extension of Kara made sure to form a relationship with Davie in a way that I very much doubt John did. I think also some of this plays into how Davie is approaching Survivor itself. He's talking about Kara. How I don't want to go into end with all these buff strong guys. So I think he is very focused on taking out one of the strong guys. You can't take out Dan.
Though they would have if they could.
Absolutely. But, and a lot of people were like, take out Dan, because that was their wishes. Right. And nobody wanted them to take out John. But, he was immune, alas. But, yeah, so, no, it was genius, because the minority side was anticipating a second idol play, which, when you think about it, actually isn't that big a leap. If they see you play an idol and they have one, very much likely that they might play one. But that's never happened before. It's never happened. It's like, we got less numbers, but in case that they do this, we'll split our votes. That's just a wonderful evolution of the tit for tat and measures and countermeasures of Survivor that they planned it, and it took out one of our favorite players of the season, and I loved it.
Oh man, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Awesome, Johnny Nitro, Johnny got booted off the top rope right here. John went home.
Yeah, what do you think about the choice to take out him? I mean, besides what we just said about how I think this is Davie's thing, I also think he's a threat. Maybe he could win some challenges. He hasn't done that well, but it's always there. He is a physical specimen, but also he was a pretty likable guy.
He's much more likable than Dan is. I think he has more bonds than Dan has, and I think if you're looking at the Goliath tribe, it seems that the person who's kind of like holding them together, the people that are most Goliath strong, are Dan and Angelina. And, I think that, but Angelina is kind of already, most of the Goliaths have already shown a willingness to turn on her. So I think if you're going to use an idol to take out someone, you're not going to take out Angelina, because then you're just doing them a favor, right?
Yeah, that's taking out Philip Shepard.
Right, exactly. There's no reason to do it. That's your fallback. But John is someone who's like in the center there. He's not driving the decisions, but they're not happening without him. And, there's and also, like Davie has a bond with Alec. Alec probably has said like, oh no, Allison's cool, whatever. You're not going to waste this on Mike White. the only person this could be going for is John.
Yeah, I think John Hennigan is the Christian of the Goliath tribe.
Yes, I think that's true. I think so. Is John an honorary brochacho then?
Maybe he should be. Yeah, that honorary brochacho. It's like, what? He didn't get full brochacho status. It seemed like that was full status. Didn't seem like it was spending. Didn't. It seemed like he would have been able to vote in local elections. I think that. So what do you feel about the loss of him? We no longer will get any of him on the future episodes other than walking in, increasing his gains as the season goes on.
Yes. I think that John was someone that I'm going to miss because I would have liked to see more of him, but I also feel like we were not seeing as much as he had to offer. What we were getting of John was okay. I feel like John has the potential to be great. And I think you could see that at times. But I just don't think we were getting that, and I think it's because, like, look, he's going out here. He was in a safe spot the entire time. He doesn't have the reason to act out to be that big kind of character that I think he can be. So.
Yeah, I every time we saw him since the merge, the past 2 episodes, he was like, yeah, we'll just keep it Goliath strong. Which, to be fair, like that is that favors him. That is a good thing for him. It gives him, meat shields. It gives him people he can trust, people he can beat, even. So it's fine, but it wasn't going to lead to necessarily entertaining gameplay on our part. It would have created a scenario most likely where it's like, oh god, he better win. But frankly, it was starting to become clear that he wasn't going to win. But if not, it was going to be like, oh man, it's going to be like Dan or Angelina or because it probably wouldn't have been Alec in this scenario even. We would have been like hoping for like a Kara underdog run. So losing him probably actually isn't going to detract a lot of the entertainment value. A lot of his entertainment value was packed early on, and some of it was definitely due to the contrast. Like, oh yeah, this guy's actually a really nice and kind of funny guy. But I think we'd gotten that. So if he has to go, it's not that big a deal for me, and especially because he went out in such epic fashion.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's memorable, and frankly, like, I think they'll probably ask John back again. He kind of fits a mold and has a personality that I think they like.
Yeah, I think they'd ask him back again. I don't think he'd do it. I mean, in exits, he hasn't shut that door, but he gives up a lot of potential revenue to come on the show. Professional wrestlers are just independent contractors. They have no, healthcare or anything like that. So if he's not out there doing shows, if he's not out there doing signings, he ain't making any money. Obviously it takes something off the body, although he only lost 11 pounds, so good on him. Those 2
he did a good job maintaining it there. That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, and he's probably right now increases Q rating for the circuits that he's on, so he could probably ask for more money now. So I don't know if he would be back, but I'd like to see it. That kind of covers the big explosive moves that finished this episode. I think we kind of talked the different steps of how we got here, what worked, what didn't. Let's go back and talk about the other things that we noticed and liked about the episode.
Okay. What do you got for us? I think you got something in mind.
Yeah, I actually have like 3 different things for Angelina because she is the gift that keeps giving. First off, this one probably a little less funny, but this kind of conversations that we've been hinting around. But what do we think about Angelina's reaction to how people agreed with Mike White? Saying things about Christian that she was saying last week.
So, I mean, that I feel is Angelina at her most sympathetic. Because, and I think that's where a lot of the reaction that we were talking about earlier, where people were saying there's, double standard and all that. I think in that instance, it's absolutely 100% true. There was a double standard there, and, I've seen that happen to my own, female colleagues, where they say something and I don't know, they just said it. I come in, I say the same thing. Everyone agrees with me and they're like, what the hell? And I'm like, what I do? Sorry. And they're like,
I've had it worse is that because I would have female bosses and stuff and we'd be in the room and then I would repeat what they were saying, not to try to take any credit. And at the end of the meeting, they thank me, backing you up. It's like, you shouldn't be thanking me for people not giving you the credit that you need, It's like, that's how crappy it is for them that they even have to thank their underling for getting the men in the room to finally agree with them.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I will say is it's one thing to say something last week. It's another thing to say it this week. This vote is different than last vote.
Just
because now might be the time to take out Christian doesn't mean that last week was the time. So
100%, yeah. That's it. It's like, so the things he was saying about Christian and his threat level was 100% everything she was saying. And I am not in 2018 going to suggest at all that like sexism doesn't play a part. I think we learned more than anything that like gender, sex, race, class plays a part in like freaking everything, right? So of course that's part of it, and especially when you see like the petulant way that Dan reacts to her, for instance. And this probably isn't the first time, but there's a couple of things to say. That just because Christian is a threat doesn't mean that it was a good idea to disrupt a very simple plan to take out Elizabeth last week. Also, it doesn't mean that because people didn't want to do it because Angela isn't necessarily. It's probably partially. Angelina, sorry. It's probably partially, but not necessarily because she's a woman. It's also because she's Angelina. Because, she had already once before disrupted an unanimously agreed upon target, and they let her have her way. And then she does it again, and frankly, the way they walk out of that meeting is, okay, we'll let her have her way. And I can understand that after you do that twice, you're like, wait, why are we always letting her have her way? Why is she complicating everything? No, we're not doing it now. And furthermore, it still wasn't a good idea for Mike White to propose this for Christian. It was a good idea if he actually was with that group, but no, so them agreeing to do it now and not agreeing to do it before doesn't mean that they're, being hypocrites. Before, it wasn't the best idea. Winning the simple vote with Elizabeth to establish order was the best idea. And also, maybe at this point, nobody wants to do your moves, Angelina, because they know you're full of shit.
Right. Well, I mean, and also like the difference in last week was they had already agreed on Elizabeth, and then Angelina wanted to change them to Christian. And so they agreed and they nodded. And then Dan got his being a bonnet and he got all head up about it. And he decided that I don't have to listen to Angelina, which fine. Dan, I think, has his own issues with Angelina, and we can go into them. But this week they had not agreed on a target. They didn't have a next target. Elizabeth was an obvious first target because no one was connected to Elizabeth. Everyone was willing to vote her out. And it's a really good thing to get an easy vote with the first merge vote because you establish loyalty. You establish people are going to vote with you. And that's really important because the only way you know that people will vote with you is if they vote with you. So, it is a little different this week, but also everything Mike said was exactly what Angelina said last week.
And what would have gone a long way is crediting her what they were doing. It's like, okay, so like we discussed last week, look, Angelina, now is the time to do what Angelina was proposing. Now, also one little caveat to that, I understand that after the shit she pulls at tribal council, maybe you're a little less interested in giving her the credit that she deserves. But I also think that those other things that come into play for everything we're coming into play there. It's not just Angelina who people got really pissy at for trying to force their way. It was also why Alec got part of why Alec got rid of Natalia. Oh my god, I almost said it the wrong way again. So I mean, I'm not going to say that it's not, but I'm also it's a little different. Voting Christian out this week is not the same as voting him out last week.
Yeah, I mean, and I will just say, like, I think that Dan has a special Angelina problem. I think had she pitched Christian, he would have put his back up immediately. So, because
all right, let's stick with Angelina here. And we kind of touched upon it, but it was so fantastic. Everybody saw through her damage control. This is like, I need more of that always. Just keep bringing it, Angelina. It's just so perfect that, they all caught me lying. I am the master of this, but I guess I got one more time. I'm going to do some damage control. No, it's even worse. You're not good at this. You think you're good because sometimes you get your way. Sometimes they're like, okay, fine, whatever. We'll vote out Jeremy. He's a problem too. And what we're really looking for here is a unified vote. So fine, sure. I'm sure sometimes you get out a parking ticket. Sometimes you get the discount at the restaurant. Sometimes you get Dan's idol. So sure, I guess that pushing all the way, but I'm also guessing that a lot of times in her life, people are like, it's Angelina again.
Right. But, it's pretty funny for us.
Even funnier was at Tribal Council when Dan goes up and does all of that. And she's like, oh, did you say the right name?
Perfect. That was Yeah, I mean, it's I couldn't like that. I don't even know how to articulate my reaction to that because it was, it's like, wait, Dan, did you say who you're playing it for? He's like, yes, I said I was playing it for you, Angelina. It's okay. You're safe. It's like you got what you wanted. Calm down.
Yeah, and like I can understand that, like in the nervousness and the rush and the adrenaline, that she doesn't hear it. But to assume that he didn't this is why nobody likes you, Angelina. This is why nobody wants to listen to you, because you think that you're smarter than Dan, which maybe you are, but you're that much smarter that you have to assume that he went through the whole procedure of giving something to Trip Probst, but forgot to say a name, and it was still okay, and he's going to sit down. That's how low you think of him in relation to you, because that's how low you probably think of everybody in relation to you. And that's why it's important that, we can't necessarily make her a feminist icon, even if it is representative of the things that, women have to deal with all the fucking time. It also is important to remember this is goddamn Angelina. And like Allison is seeing through her bullshit. Natalie saw through her bullshit. It's bullshit. And so it can be two things.
Angelina reminds me of like an old school Survivor villain, someone who, they're not doing the type of stuff that we've seen from like really terrible people, but like a Jerry in Australia, everyone just dislikes, and they dislike because they're pulling some transparent stuff, and they see through them, and then they're raising a big stink about it all the time. That's what Angelina's like, and look, I sympathize with her on the Mike White thing, but she's very transparent. And and she's just, she doesn't know how to, let it rest. She has to be proven right is a big part of her too.
Yeah, and I agree, and also I just want to quickly, when people talk about Jerry, like, oh, just the edit made her look like a villain. Yeah, you know how the edit made her look like a villain? By showing everybody talking about how they hate Jerry. It wasn't invented. Nobody liked her. It was real. They threw a party when she was away at a reward. Now, is she as evil as a bunch of people have come on? No. But you don't have to be evil for people not to like you. And it doesn't have to be much for people to rally around how much they don't like you. And that's what's happening with her. And it's fun. And a big part of why it's fun is because she has been defanged. If Angelina was in power, she'd be Regina George. She would be insufferable, and the season would be bad for it. But because
Angelina and Natalia.
Oh God, no! It'd be awful, That's the thing. Like, just look at Angelina's journey from like the fan reaction, whereas like at the beginning of the season, she's this interchangeable brunette that nobody can remember their name, and then the best is like, she's symbolic of the white girl privilege, even though
she's not white.
Yep. But because she gets her way, and now of course it's like, oh yeah, this is she's our queen, feminist icon. But it's like, men can suck without the woman in the scenario being somebody to celebrate. The two things don't necessarily have to go inside. So I'm having fun with her character. If she brings more moments like "Did you say the right name?" I'm all for her sticking around, which I think she will for a while now.
I think so too. I think this was kind of the crisis point for her. I think if she didn't go home here, she's going to be here for another couple weeks. But let's move on to someone else who I really want to talk about. Let's talk about Nick's game, because I think Nick has, he's not getting the talk up that Christian's getting talked up by everyone else, but I think Nick is the fulcrum of this entire season and a lot of the alliances that are going on. He has bonds with Davie, and through Davie, Carl, as we saw when they found the vote steal. We know he has bonds with Alec and Mike White. He has, like Nick is, obviously then he has bonds with Christian. Nick, and as irritating as his nicknames are, Nick, I think, is playing a really good game, and he's doing it in a way that's not making him a target, but that is giving him a lot of options. And, okay, bold prediction time. You ready for this?
Let's do it. Yeah, this isn't about this episode. It's for the whole season. So
for the entire season. Okay, this is my bold prediction. Nick's winning, and here's the final four. It's going to be Nick, it's going to be Gabby, it's going to be Mike White, and it's going to be Christian. And Christian's going at it 4.
Wow, that is a super powered 4.
Right? But this is what I'm thinking. I think basically the Christian, Gabby, Nick take over, and I think Mike White's targeting of Christian, doesn't become known that he was the one that was pushing that so hard. And so he falls back in with Nick. Because I don't think that Alec ever said to Nick today that Mike is pushing for you. I think it was.
People check the tape because I feel like he did, but I don't know either. So
okay. Well, I think even if that does become known, I still think he's going to get a pass while they go after everyone else on the Goliaths. And then he gets a pass because who's scared of Mike White? So he just floats in there and he's a goat at the end, basically. So that's my bold prediction.
All right. So a couple of things. One, your bold prediction success rate is like Ben Simmons' shooting percentage outside of 5 feet from the net. It's really not a good track record, is what I'm saying.
Right.
2, and this is more damning, and there's no way you could have known this. I myself only found out today through somebody on Twitter who I don't even follow, but the show does. And I'll also add that I have not confirmed this information because I never would. It sounds like Nick might be the Edgic favorite of Reddit.
Shit! Damn it! Damn it!
Anybody wants to confirm or deny that?
Christian's winning. Yeah. Christian's winning. Nothing else matters. Christian's winning. He's a star. He's being edited that way because he's winning.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, no confirmation on that. I just saw that, and honestly, it bothered me because, like, yeah, I could see it. I could see Nick winning. I could, in the first episode where they talk about what a weasel is, they also give him a very tender, human moment. And I kind of think that he is playing the best game out there. I wrote in our breakdown best game of the Davids, but I'm also not sure I'm impressed by anybody's game on the Goliaths right now. Yeah. But yeah, like this episode itself really. Actually, yes, that's probably why I wrote it, because Alec. Because all of a sudden we just get the scene of him and Davie out there searching together. It's like, wait, Davie? I didn't know they were that close. Like, they're not in this alliance that we saw. He actually voted against Davie's interest the one time that they voted together, but was able to slide back in really easily, which we thought of as Weasley, probably is a little. I would also say it's the benefits that people like Nick get that other people don't, where it's like, hey, the fallback's all on Gabby. But there he was, and not just like, we'll look together because you saw me looking and we got to pair up, but more like Davie surrendered his chance to get it and let it fall into Nick's hands. It's like, I will work to help you get it, Nick. And then Nick's talking about this with Carl, and Carl tells Nick about his vote nullifier before he ever told Davie about it. So and then we see wild. We've already seen his close relationship with Mike and with Christian. I mean, we saw Angelina give the speech of all speeches of how a big fan she is of Nick. I mean, I'm sure that was genuine. This guy has a lot of options. If this were to fall apart, if they had actually just gotten rid of Christian, I wouldn't have counted Nick out. I think he would have had avenues to swim up. Nobody's coming after him. His otherwise mediocrity in so many other levels helps him in that scenario. But frankly, mediocrity often helps people survive and do well in this phase of Survivor.
Perceived mediocrity, because I think what we're seeing that he's really exceptional at is these personal bonds.
Yes,
everyone that he's talked to, that he has like formed an alliance with, loves him. And everyone talks about like how much they trust him and how nice of a guy he is. Like, Nick is putting in the emotional work that is very hard to see, but I think is very evident by the fact that everyone is, on his side. It's the type of game that isn't flashy, that's hard to appreciate. But no, I think Nick is playing a really fantastic game.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, we here at home see a lot of the things that Nick are doing, and we just think it's dumb, it's annoying, it would never work, nobody would ever fall for it. No, people do. People fall for the corny stuff all the time. That's kind of silly, but it's Nick, that good old Nick. Just like, people could be at this side of the camera or even there in the other. It's like, I know exactly what Parvati's doing. I'd never fall for it. And then she talks to you and smiles and it's like, I love Parvati. She's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like that. Sometimes that works, and I'm sure we've all had in our lives. It's like, how does that fucking guy, succeed in this area? He's so, don't people see that he's, so corny corny or he's not as smart as he thinks he is. But it's like, no, a lot of people don't. A lot of hucksters can get away with things. And, maybe he's not a huckster, but yeah, people there seem to really be responding to Nick. And I bet, if you pulled them all, if they did those Survivor games of who do you trust and all that, like Nick might win that if they did like the burn book thing. And we're like, really? The guy with the fucking nicknames, the guy who's like, it's easy to get away with not working? Yeah, really. That's, yeah.
And I think the stir word that you were looking for Nick is shyster because he's a lawyer. But you didn't get that from me. I would never repeat. That's a dirty word.
No, I was definitely not looking. I already said something kind of deplorable last week, so I'm not going to do that again, hopefully.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was just making a lawyer joke. Anyway, I hear there's something that you really want to get off your chest, but before you do, I got to give a content warning here. This is very sensitive. This is volatile. You should not listen to the next 5 minutes of what Andy has to say. Andy, go.
So this is my promised hot take that, we'll just divide the listenership. Even, supporters, maybe I might lose. But sometimes things just need to be said. Whether, they make you popular or not, sometimes you have to take a stand. And this is that moment. Hawaiian pizza is great. And I'm tired of all the shit that it takes from people on the internet. I was tired of all the shit it was taking last night, especially like a lot of internet tough guys. Like, I wouldn't even eat that pizza. Fuck you. You would have eaten it if it was covered in dirt. If in that scenario. So yeah, save me that. What's happened is Hawaiian pizza is just like, oh, I could never eat something with fruit on it on a pizza. What is the sauce on a pizza? It is fruit. I could never eat something with that sweet, tangy tomato sauce. No, I'm a man. I have to have my strong toppings. People who like to bag on having pineapples on pizza, and people who like to, bag on women who enjoy, the pumpkin spice lattes. That Venn diagram is a circle. So you're not being original when you think that. You're not being like, oh, no, my pizza can only be this way. You're just being boring. Yes, it tastes good if you like it. Moreover, I think pizza has proven itself to be a very versatile substance for many different toppings and many different delivery systems. You have, New York pizza is good that way. Italian pizza is good. California pizza is good. My personal favorite is Greek style pizza. I've had it here that I like. I've had butter chicken pizza. It's fantastic. Now, Chicago style pizza is wet, soggy garbage. But, for the most part, there's a lot of things you can do to a pizza, and cutting up a little bit of pineapple and putting it on a pizza is one of them.
So you said a lot that I have to respond to, but the first thing I'm going to respond to is this. Most of the people criticizing, first of all, your entire idea that people criticizing Hawaiian pizza don't criticize other delivery methods of pizza is completely false. The biggest critics of Hawaiian pizza are not the pumpkin spice latte people. They are the people who are like, only New York pizza is pizza. Everything else is not pizza. Greek pizza is not pizza. Only New York pizza is pizza. Chicago pizza is not pizza. It is something.
It's not pizza. That in that respect, they're right. It is tomato sauce casserole. Continue.
Yeah, it is a casserole. But my point is this: the people criticizing Hawaiian pizza are the zealots of the delivery system, and certain delivery systems would not mix fruit. It would not mix the sweetness of a pineapple with the rest of it. Now, personally, Hawaiian pizza tastes fine, but I'm someone who lived in Chicago for 6 years, so I ate that casserole for 6 years, and I grew to love it because you know what? In Chicago, that shit is good. And
to be fair, I have never had it in Chicago, so I guess I shall.
But it's also, I agree, it's not pizza. It's so that's where I got to push back on you. It's not the Venn diagram of the pumpkin spice latte people. It's the pizza zealots who are like, the only type of pizza is my type of pizza. It's the type of pizza that I get around the corner at Joe's Pizzeria, and that I've been getting at Joe's Pizzeria for 30 years.
Yeah, and maybe, I think you raise a good point there, and that could be true. I'll say that it also always feels like there's like this gendered thing, like this is how masculine I am. I could only ever have things within the meat family on my pizza. But yeah, I think the provincialism of pizza, and so like open your minds, people. Seriously, like try a pierogi style pizza. Try different toppings. It doesn't even have to always be tomato sauce. It is bread, cheese, sauce that you hold in your hand and you can eat that way. if you open the possibilities of various different pizzas, then you can eat pizza all week and never really feel like you're repeating the same process over and over again. It's not like I'm saying that people should be eating calzones or some bullshit like that. Just like Hawaiian pizza it's great. And if you don't like it, that's fine. That's cool. But it's not some kind of abomination on the pizza gods.
Well, and here's the other thing. Well, I got 2 points. One, just because some people like a type of pizza that you don't like does not take anything away from your type of pizza. It's okay for people to like things that you don't like. That's okay. That can exist in the world. 2, the pineapples you probably have had on Hawaiian pizza are probably taste a lot different than pineapples in the South Pacific, where they are like fresh, and I am sure they taste a lot better.
Yeah, there's a good chance that the pineapple on the pizza is the only good part of a Survivor pizza.
Have you seen the regular Survivor pizzas that aren't pineapple pizza? Man, I want to touch those with a 10-foot pole. No, the pineapple is probably the best part of that pizza.
I gotta say, the most disappointing thing about John Hennigan is that he ordered a pizza and rice when he got into the Potter. It's like, what are you doing, man? Now it was like a fried rice, like but still, it's like, why would you subject yourself to more Survivor pizza? Anyway, continue.
I think I forgot my second point. I think I made all the points I had.
Yeah, I actually had it in the notes here that people who rail against Hawaiian pizza are more joyless than those who rant against Die Hard being a Christmas movie, which was for me and you, except that the actual better parallel are I think is people who say that Die Hard's my favorite Christmas movie because I don't like anything but the most masculine of things. But since I guess I resemble that Die Hard, I didn't want to do that. But that's what you're doing. You're just like, I am the superior god, and you're not original. Everybody's out there saying it. So no, like it or don't like it, but it's perfectly fine on the bread, cheese, sauce concoction that is pizza. It's not like they're throwing canned corn or some bullshit like they do in the UK.
Yeah. Man, you're just taking swipes at everyone here.
I think I've just been too nice this season. I guess it was building up. But no, moreover, I was just tired of people talking shit about my pizza.
So wait. Is Hawaiian your pizza of choice?
It's one of. I like to switch it up. I like variety. But yeah, it's probably the one I get more often than not. With a caveat, there's many places where you'd never want it because that pineapple is going to be garbage. But
okay. Should we do our season check-in?
Yes. I will. I was just here last week, so I've been on the show more often, especially even episodes where you were supposed to be there and then you just kind of aren't. So how about you? I think we will probably more. Where's Matt at for this season?
I'm loving this season. I think it's a great season. I think I was really enjoying the pre-merge, and the post-merge has kind of kept the momentum up. No, I mean it's like this is really enjoyable. The one thing one thing that we've talked about in Slack that I think I agree with is whether or not there's a true star in this season. I'm not sure there is. You might lean towards Angelina. I'm not there yet with her, just because for me, it's hard for me to have a villain be the star or someone I perceive as a villain, and Angelina is a different type of villain than what we talked about. She's a villain in kind of the old school Survivor way, but a star is someone I want to see succeed in the end. And
I don't think there is that person for me either.
Yeah, I'm not sure there is. The closest is Christian. I will, but he's also getting the biggest edit because I think the show perceives him as the biggest star. But the thing is, I like almost everyone on the cast. Everyone on the cast is at least solid, except for Carl, who I think is giving us nothing.
Yeah, if most people other than Carl, and at this point I'd say Dan, succeed this season, and of course, Angelina, but she's not going to. Then I'd be like, oh, that's cool. But there isn't anybody who I'm really rooting for to succeed. A clarification about Christian is undoubtedly the star of the season, but he's not a star for us. We're not oh man, Christian. It's more cool, okay, Christian. But where I am with Angelina is just what she is to be delivering to the show, the element that she brings to the season, she is doing in superlative ways. But again, I still want to see her fail. absolutely. I'm very much looking forward to it. It should be lots of fun. But like, she is delivering big time in that role, whereas everybody else is kind of like, yeah, it's cool.
And I will say one person who I kind of soured on this episode, who I'd been mostly okay with before this, was Mike White. Mike White, I thought, had like just an episode that was, that I thought was, one, not entertaining, but two, was also, like forebode poor entertainment for the rest of the season, because it seemed like he switched up, his strategy to being like, oh, let's just do the most boring thing possible. Now, I don't know if he's going to continue with that. As my bold prediction said, I don't think he will, but he might just get dragged along.
And one thing that we probably should have known when we were judging on the move is that, the caveat being, the thing he was proposing is the thing that nobody wants. So yeah, everybody's gonna say, of course it's a bad idea. I don't want that thing. That will make this season more boring. I want, possibilities and interest, and maybe even these other people to succeed. For me, it's more possibilities and interest. I don't, as already established, there isn't somebody I'm particularly rooting for. And moreover, I more root for things to happen than specific things for one person to happen. But I also feel like we were fairly balanced why it wasn't the right move. He didn't need to do it now. And also, we don't know how this leads to a path to success. One thing I'm digging this season is intentional or not. I'm not going to say that it is, but the edit is really messing with the people that really like to jump on everything as, oh, see, this is it. So like, Purple Allison. It's like, it's cooled down. It's 3 freaking episodes. Now she's a finely integrated member of the cast.
Yep.
Davie goes away for 1 episode. People lose their minds. And now he pulls off possibly the signature moment of the season. So, everybody's just like, I know this. I'm going to say the things. This is it. This is the no vote finalist. This is just chill, man. Stop making yourself look stupid and just enjoy the ride. And even for like John, where people might be like, he didn't get edited as much because he was out. Man, being the 12th place didn't stop Chris Noble from getting a big edit. I'll also say there's no such thing as the idled out edit. That's just people's confirmation bias. Andrew Savage didn't get an idled out edit. Sierra
Don Thomas?
Sierra Easton didn't get an idled out.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that one. Yeah, Sierra Don Thomas didn't get idled out. That's why I was confused.
Actually, did she or didn't she?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Everybody held on to their idols. Suri didn't get an idled out. Everybody were like, oh, she didn't. No, she was just gone because she never went to tribal council. But she certainly got her moments. It's not a real thing. And nor is this person didn't talk this episode, so they're doomed a thing. And I kind of like that, and I think it's probably unintentional. But I'm enjoying that aspect of the season because I'm a petty bastard.
Well, and one thing I will say is that the show really didn't tip its hand that it was going to be John this episode. It wasn't a John heavy episode. He wasn't giving a lot of confessionals. I think the show has been both played it close to the vest, but it's also like we understand why the votes are going the way they are, and if there's any doubt, they've been clearing it up next week. I actually imagine there is probably a scene next week where they ask why John, and they will say something about why John, because that's what the show's been doing this season. And I appreciate that because I think that's good storytelling.
Frankly, I don't think it's been tipping its hand that much, but it's there, like, Redmond figured out like right before commercial. Oh yeah, it could be John because this. It's like, and that's the key to good mystery storytelling is that you don't give away the ending, but you put it there when people think about it. And too many people complain. It's like, why didn't they tell us that this I didn't know it was going to be that surprise ending. It wasn't there. It's like, because it's a surprise, man. Were you complaining that Kevin Spacey never talked about how this was all his plan to just distract the cops and make up a story? No, like that the whole point is like the Davie move, and I don't think anybody's complained about this one, but the Davie move is only exciting if we didn't get our hat tipped to it, and several other things happened that way. But maybe what they're actually complaining is like, he didn't lay any ground. There's no way to even see it in retrospect, which I think is a bit of a failing. You should be able to see it in retrospect, but it wouldn't necessarily be obvious on first viewing, except that many Survivor fans want to be the person who says, oh, it was obvious to me. They treat it like a puzzle to be solved before you get to the end, and I like that this season hasn't been that yet.
Nope.
Although apparently Nick is winning, so what are you gonna do? All right, predictions.
Sorry that apparently I agree with frickin' Edgic, so just shoot me now. Like,
honestly, take heed, man. This guy chokes away every lead he has in predictions. He's never right about these things, so Reddit is clearly wrong, if indeed that is even true. What
yeah.
All right, so you've told us who's going to win. You told us who's going to the finals, but what we care about right now is who's going home next week.
So I actually don't have my answer yet. I'm kind of still thinking this through, but I want to say Dan because Dan's going to be the target, and they're going to try to use the vote steal to get Dan. But Dan has an idol, and Dan knows he's going to be the target, right? Now, maybe what happens is Dan plays his idol and it gets nullified. But I think you have to play the nullifier when you're voting, right? I don't think you can do it. Like if Dan pulls his idol out, you can't pull the nullifier out and be like, no. So I don't think they're going to think that far ahead. Maybe they will. Maybe it is Dan. But I feel like, for what, maybe they find out that Dan has another idol from, if Kara splits with him. And so they just target someone else, they target, I don't know, an Angelina and Allison, but whatever. I'll just say Dan. I mean, I don't have another answer at this point. Or maybe it blows back and it hits Davie. Everyone's suddenly now worried about Davie, and, he gets voted out. So,
yeah, I'm going to predict Dan because I think this is a two-step process. The first step was Davie uses his idol to bring the odds down to, 1 or the difference to 1. You use the vote steal to flip that difference. And because this is essential, this is the moment to take over the game. Let's just preemptively play this vote nullifier on Dan anyway. We need him to go. We need to win this vote. We can't have anything go wrong. Davie has already shown an ability to creatively think around these problems when he split a minority vote to block against a counter block of an idol. They don't know that he has a second idol, but maybe he's just like, what if he finds the re-hidden idol?
Well, I mean, and here's the thing. So the traditional move with the vote steal is to steal the vote from the person you're voting for, because that whoever they vote for is, it's not going to be them, right? Mm-hmm. So you steal that person's vote. The second Dan's vote gets stolen, he's playing his idol.
Yeah.
So, and he will probably tip something at that point, in which case, oh, yo, Carl, play your nullifier when you go up there. So, I mean,
but for me, it's just like this is go time. Let's put all the cards on the table, and it's helpful that 3 of the people that would be making this move know about all the cards, so it's not one of those situations where if only they knew about this. And I think they just hedge. They just think that Dan could find the re-hidden idol. We got to get him out. We need to win this vote. So let's put it all. And so it's Dan. Now, one thing I do think it could otherwise be is that it's going to be Kara. And the reason why is that, we see in the next time on Survivor, her, sidling up to them a bit. And it could be them be like, she's just trying to get information. She's just trying to protect Dan. Let's just take her out. So I could see it being that. But my prediction is that it will be Dan.
It would be pretty epic if all of these, advantages that we've never seen make a difference all came together in like the perfect spot and actually worked out. Like, I think that would justify them in the way that people are like, oh, advantages suck. It's like, no, it's like if you use them in the precise right way, they can be fun. And I think it would be fun in this instance if you if you use the vote steal. He plays the idol, try to one-up you, and then you nullify it. Like, that's fun.
Yeah. That's actually even just like last night. People were like, oh, do we like these advantages this season? Because it was awesome and it led to an awesome moment. Well, guess what? That's why they exist. And you can't be the person who complains about them all the time. And then when it actually provides you entertainment, be like, oh, actually, maybe they're not so bad. They just are. And then sometimes it happens. But obviously, these things aren't going to happen if they don't exist. So they don't exist to pull, to create fantastic moments every time. It's impossible to have 100% success rate. But, if the possibility for good things exists, then they should. Now, you can argue there are a few advantages they put in this game, or the possibility for, extra entertainment doesn't really exist. Frankly, the vote nullifier could be one of those, like, not in the scenario we're pointing, but it's like, as somebody pointed out, it can only ever work if all the votes are going on one target. Well, the whole joy and excitement of an idol is that it gives somebody in a minority position one way of not being that. It takes an obvious vote away. And what'll be interesting is if Dan goes home because his vote is nullified, he is going to be so pissed because his idol is. And if it was anybody but Dan, I think people would be pissed right along with her. It is unfair that this guy, you work for something that every time in every other season in history of Survivor has, done this thing. And it's like, not this time. And there's no way you could have known. Now, as I've said with many other things, whoever said Survivor is fair, fairness isn't really a concern of mine. But if this were to happen to like a favorite, like Christian, like, people would be up in arms, and when it happens to Dan, they'll just be like, that was hilarious. Everyone else that sees happening as part of my prediction is Dan will trash talk his way into failure, because we've seen that twice now.
I
don't care what happens tonight. There's no way I'm going home.
Well, what'll be great is if the only person sticking by Dan at the end is Angelina.
You can kind of see that. I mean, probably Kara, but I mean, I also feel like she's somebody who will jump ship if she sees the sinking tides. Yeah, that would be fantastic. All right. So next week
we're finally getting the long-awaited Mark podcast. Mark is joining me.
So wait, is that a solo podcast then? You're doing it, huh? I almost did one tonight, but you're really just you.
Well, I found a way to replicate an image of myself that's completely different and talk back to me. We'll see how it works. I don't know how responsive this copy will be, but it's in our tryptophan-induced haze, we will be broadcasting live after Thanksgiving dinner. I will see, we'll see how drunk and sleepy I am, but we'll be going no matter what. So. Tune in next week for that.
All right, so you can see that on our website at purplerockpodcast.com or our YouTube channel. Subscribe and like, all that sort of thing. You could also subscribe on various podcasters, iTunes, Stitcher, not on SoundCloud. And if you're ever there and you want to, give us a rating or stars or anything, feel free, but only 5 stars. 4 stars, and we'll think that you are a Nicaragua fan. That's just the rules.
Yeah.
You can follow us.
If you're a Nicaragua fan, don't give us that review. We know you suck anyway. So
you can follow us on Twitter. The show is Purple Rock Pod. I am Purple Rock Andy.
I'm Purple Rock Matt.
And I believe that's it.
Yep. So hit the theme music, Andy.
All right, well, that's it. And I'll just add the music at the end there, and then we go. We got ourselves a podcast. Whoa. Hey, guys, wrong podcast.
What? Matt!
Yeah. I'm recording with Matt, but it's still, this is Survivor, not superheroes. So, sorry, guys.